Hi everyone, welcome to Physics 67th meeting. I know today is not quite the day. It's it should be on the 7th of August, but because Walt can't make it, our speaker can't make it on the 7th, so we have to do an earlier session to re-record it for the 7th. So now, since we've got quite a number of people here, about a dozen people here in attendance, we thought, it'd be nice to start the meeting officially as the first session of the 67th FESIG meeting. So here we are. And I would like to very quickly go through the motions of the procedure of a official FESIG meeting. And welcome again to FESIG's meeting. FESIG is the Free Energy Special Interest Group, and I think I'll better share screen so I can show you my PowerPoint presentation. But this is since the website has come up, it's our URL address is truevisionoffees.com/FESIG.html, and if you get into the site, you can see what we are about. It's a platform where science meets spirituality, where we gather all who are enthusiastic about building free energy devices and developing it, and scientists, researchers, inventors, students, educators alike, all most welcome to jump onto this platform to gather together and unite as a very good resource group where you can share ideas and develop your inventions and your devices, so we can go forward and make a difference in this planet. And this site will give you all the details about what we have and what we do and how we got so many wonderful people who's got a lot of the technology that is being developed right this now that can turn things around for the planet. And so today we have Walt Jenkins, who is amazing with what he does, and he's such an achiever with what he had been doing. I will be introducing him properly in a moment, but this is what you see on the website, okay? And Walt is there, and this is the description. And if you go and you hover your mouse over his name, it takes you to his website, his Facebook, and you hover over H2G, clean fuel, it takes you to the website as well. So this is a website that has all the resources that you could link up to whoever is good for your connection in whatever you're doing to progress, right? So if you hover your mouse over this one, it takes you to our meetings link with all the details as to how you can attend our meetings in FESIG in the future. And actually on the 7th, we're going to have Mike Emery, the world's top quantum physicist, working with James Rink. James will be doing a workshop on how to build the organic bubble pack that would actually not only diffuse the 5G harmful frequencies, it will also transmute it and turn it around into healing energies, which is really pretty amazing. And a lot of people all over the world has already been making this bubble pack and having a lot of positive benefits, which is quite miraculous. And Mike Emery has been inundated with a lot of testimonies. Right, so we have Pontus here, of course. Pontus is the head of the Bui Marine Motor Generator project, and he's heading a whole team of R&D team members of physics to develop the device. And it's ongoing. Every Monday we have a meeting, the R&D team meeting, and I urge you to join in if you got some, ideas and technology that you could contribute in the making. But we really applaud you on what you do there. So, okay, and if you scroll down, you'll be able to see all the speakers who had spoken in FESIG before, because these are the reports. And if you click on the link that we have here at the bottom of the reports, you'll be able to see the the videos that we have recorded for every meeting, what meeting from when to when, and it's all recorded verbatim without any editing at all, hardly any. And if you click on this YouTube channel, it takes you to our FESIG YouTube channel, and you can see all the video recordings there, about 80 something videos to date. So you can see all the speakers. We've got very, very amazing speakers. Some of the top most brilliant people on the planet had come up with some devices that's really going to make a difference. And if you click on a Facebook icon, it takes you to our Facebook page, where there are a lot of things that Qantas has been sharing. Qantas manages our Facebook, and it's got plenty of information. It's like a resource of free energy, well, you know, educational stuff. And we've got Patrick Kelly with us as well, who's really made a name for himself as a pillar of free energy educationist. So there you are. And okay, so much so about introducing FESIG, and I'm going to use my PowerPoint presentation now. So today is actually a pre-recording day of Walt's presentation, but I'm turning it into an official first session of the meeting. I'm sorry. There you go. Right, so if I were to scroll down a bit, you will see my agenda for the meeting. And this is what I mean by the first session. Walt Jenkins talks about how H2G clean fuel can run internal combustion engines, powering ships at sea from seawater, trucks, and planes by moisture condensed from the air. This is very amazing. And the second session will be on the 7th, okay, this coming Wednesday. Well, a live workshop by James Rink on making the organic bubble pack. Okay? So, and once we finish, after the second session on the 7th, this meeting will then be adjourned to the 68th FESIG meeting on the 4th of September. So if you want to write to me and contact me to be in touch with the team, or, you know, volunteer or whatever, or contribute by speaking in our meetings, just write to me, crystal@truevisionofpeace.com. All right, thank you. So now I would like to introduce Walt. Right, okay. Walt.
Hello.
Yes, Walt, can I introduce you? Your bio?
Yeah, sure. Sure, right. Certainly.
Walt Jenkins is an amazing inventor. He's come up with something that is really going to turn the tables here. So in 1986, he is the founder in Motion Pictures. He founded Motion Pictures Corporation, Gainesville, Florida. He created and developed the world's first virtual set systems for use in motion pictures. His projects include multimedia TV, DVD, and video production for national corporate clients and company PR presentations for sales and public relations, and feature films and motion picture production. In year 2008, H2 Global LLC was formed in Florida, USA, to develop and market Walt Jenkins' technical achievements and breakthroughs in the area of water-based fuel production and its potential as a commercial fuel resource. In 2007, breakthroughs were achieved, which yielded a 300% gain over prior art technologies, and a rapid advancement into new processes followed soon thereafter. Water can now be turned into fuel on the fly, on demand, with under 180 milliamps input power, and create a fuel which completely runs an engine. More than a dozen different patents being applied for in the field of water fuel generation. H2G energy from water systems now allow clean, non-polluting fuel to be produced from either fresh or seawater at a cost far less than oil-based or fossil fuels per thermal unit. Now, this is a great solution here for our planet. The evolution of water as a primary energy resource is now possible, and H2 Global LLC was established to develop and market this energy resource and expand the science of clean energy production. So there you go. Right. Well, would you take over the microphone?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. And it's the first time I'm having any introduction to your group very recently. So I'm glad to make the acquaintance. It looks like a lot of interesting stuff on your website and very interesting inventors and people. I'll go right into my stuff here. I'm going to put up the share window and share the slideshow. Can you guys see that now?
Yes.
The PowerPoint? Okay. Is this little box over here with the pictures of you guys in the picture that you see, or do you just see the slideshow?
We see both.
Just the slideshow.
Okay. Just a slideshow. Okay. Well, the host would see both, I guess. Okay. Well, anyway, like she said, H2 Global is our company, and H2GE.com and H4Gas.com go to the same website. And our technology basically is, after about a 20-year playing around in alternative energy sources and doing a lot of research, I several years ago was involved with electrolysis, and everybody still assumes that we are, and we're not. We were looking for a way to convert the energy in water to fuel, and we finally had a breakthrough by studying lightning and how it works in storms and clouds and why it works and doesn't burn up the whole cloud. So we got into that, and from that study, I found a way that could be applied to water to extract energy from water. And actually, it extracts several kinds of energy from water. It utilizes hydrogen, of course, which is also but in a very different manner from electrolysis. Electrolysis is just two metal plates or coils or whatever in water, and anode, cathode, and you extract hydrogen and oxygen gases, and those are combustible fuels, but the process is not very efficient because it requires nearly as much energy input as it does output. So you don't get a whole lot of gains, although the gains are impressive in the last few years, but still, as a methodology for running an engine, it's not economical way to do it. So we abandoned electrolysis, and our new system now extracts energy directly from water. We still use the hydrogen in the water. We use the oxygen. We also use steam. So inside the combustion process, all three of those energies are released at once, with very little electrical energy used outside the engine to try to create any of them. So the process of the breakdown and fuel combustion takes place in the combustion of the engine, and it will work in any type diesel gas engine or even turbines. And we're very shortly going to be getting into major commitment to turbine engines for power plants. But anyway, this is once we figured out how to do this, and we run engines completely on water fuel, and we have a system, it's sort of a legacy system now, that we can run in any mixture. We can have 5% gasoline, or now we're running 0.01% gasoline, and the rest is water, or we can go all the way the other way and do 1% or 10% or 15, 20, 30% water, and the rest is regular fuel. In any combination, you can run an engine on this stuff. And so recently, a new development, and why it took so long for me to see this, I don't know, but I'm glad I finally did. But let's see, let me get rid of this slide. I'll go to the next slide. Oh. There we go. So in the atmosphere, there are 37 million billion gallons of water suspended in our atmosphere. Well, that's a great big gas station for me. So I said, well, we can suck the water out of the air. We can put it in the engine on the fly going down the road. We don't have to stop for fuel. So I started developing a system to do that, and I bought all the necessary components to demonstrate it, and I got some engineers from Washington, D.C. to come down, and we extracted water from the air and put it in our water fuel system, and we ran a generator. And in this particular test instance, the generator was a 4K generator, and I think the engine is a 196 cc. And we put 5 milliliters of gasoline in that engine. And we also took off the gas tank, and we use hypodermic needles for gas tanks to experiment with, because we only use small amounts of gasoline. So we did that, put in 5 milliliters of gasoline, and it ran 2 seconds. Then we put the same amount, 5 milliliters of gas, into the water fuel system. And all of this you can see documented on our website with H2GE.com and H4gas.com. But anyway, so when we did that, the engine ran 9 minutes and 13 seconds. So if you do the math, 2 seconds divided by that, you get 276.5, I think it is, times longer running time. So the range with our fuel system, not only much cleaner, it's about 99% cleaner now, 97% cleaner, and much, much cheaper, of course, than gasoline. But say if you have 1 gallon of gasoline in a normal situation, with our fuel system, you would have, using that same amount of gas, and then adding the water fuel system, you would have 276.5 times the range. And in some tests, we've gone up as high as 1,100 times more range. That means that we can run a bus, we're doing a water tour bus, a big RV motorhome. We're working on setting up the system for that now, and we plan to take it on a tour across America. We'll be going from Tampa area of Florida up through Tallahassee, meet with the governor and legislatures, and then on to Washington, D.C. to meet with Congress people. And then we'll go from there across America, meeting with the governors on that trip to San Francisco, where there'll be a large meeting of international scientists and international financiers. And then we come back through some other states, back to Tampa. All of that, we do not stop for fuel. And we also recently had some interest from other RV camper people. And it looks like what is happening now is we're going to have a caravan of probably 100 or more motorhomes driving across America in a big convoy. So it'd be hard for the newspapers and media to suppress the technology in the news of what we have, which has been done in the past and is still going on. The suppression is quite extensive. But anyway, we're going ahead with it, and we're going to do this to prove not only that it works, but how practical and viable it is and commercially available it is right now, not in 10 years. So if you look at the stats online, there's about 332.5 million cubic miles of water in our oceans. Our system runs on either atmospheric water, pull it out of the air, rainwater, fresh water, lakes, rivers, off the tap, out of the ocean. It doesn't matter. Water is water. And we have for a while, we had a system where the seawater fuel system, I was of the impression when I first started into it that I would have to desalinate that water to make the system run. And that's not true. So I found out later that I did not have to do that. But in the meantime, I invented a desalination system, and that's far cheaper than most desalination systems on the market right now. So we've got all these other inventions that are offshoots of our progress in making water into fuel. Let me see if this is a little bit of slide about the charged particles of water, and that was the key to breaking the water down into fuel. And once we got this process to work, in an engine and get it reliably to work. Let's see, there we go. And there should be some lightning coming up on the screen. Yeah, there we go. So we studied the effects of lightning, and the question I had there was why doesn't lightning burn up the whole cloud? Why is it strictly following some sort of path? And so we started studying ionization and all the other effects that cause those limitations in not burning up the whole cloud. And also it had a lot to do with atmospheric pressure and temperature, which if you modify those enough, it would burn up the whole cloud and the whole sky, wherever there's moisture in it. But let's see. Is this going to change? My slide is going to change. Okay, let me try that. So, people ask me, well, water doesn't burn. How do you make water burn? Well, water will burn. You just have to change it. You can prove that with electrolysis. I mean, every kid knows electrolysis. It has burnable gases in it. You convert them, you can burn it, and that's originally water. You just need to change the process of the water into a burnable fuel, and the fuel components are already in the water. So, let me go back to that other slide. I had something there. Oh, okay. Let's see. Just gonna run. There it goes. Yeah, I like that sunrise graphic there over the Earth. So, all right, enough of that. We'll go to the next slide. So it's now the cleanest and lowest cost energy on the planet is our fuel system, because we're basically just taking water. And then some people say, well, what happens if you use all the water? Well, actually, the emissions out the back of our system is a slight amount of water vapor. Not much because we use it all, but there's very little, if any, pollutions, and those are only caused by the fossil fuels in the engine. You may get a little blow-by of oil out of the crankcase, depending on the condition of the engine. So you may get some pollutants from that, and those will always be there as long as those lubricants are used. But there are other lubricants which don't release fossil fuel toxins. And so the other thing is that if you're running a system like ours, whatever remains of the moisture goes back into the environment and is reabsorbed either into the air or runs off into the groundwater and recirculates. So we're mostly taking the energy, converting the water to energy and taking the energy out. These are some commercials that I'll run. There's 2 30-second commercials and a 2-minute commercial. And these are being run in sample markets around the U.S. So let's see, here we go.
Walt, I think you have to share computer sound.
Take the sound down? Hold on, let me.
There's no
You
sound.
want take the sound down?
There is no sound at all.
Cell phone?
There is no sound at all. So
I didn't
Bring
understand.
up the volume, Walt.
Bring up the volume on the video. Okay. Hang on. Let me find out where there it is. Yeah, it keeps moving on me. Well,
no, I think you have to share computer sound.
okay, hold on. Oh, this is turned down. That's why I see it. I can't get the damn thing to stay up there. Jesus, that's frustrating as hell. Stop that. It's like disappearing every time I try to touch it. Okay, let me turn up the computer sound then. It's almost all the way up, so it's got to be the sound playing here.
Can you hear there, Walt?
Yeah.
There's an issue with this system. You need to share the sound.
Oh, okay. How do I share the sound?
Ja, här börjar ju med
Start video. Okay,
share.
hold on. Pause control. Let's see. We'll get through this. Okay. How do we share the sound? Can you not hear that when it's playing?
No, not at all. Yesterday when we were doing the preview, the sound came out loud and clear.
Yeah, okay. I need to figure out. Let's see. Screen, subtitles, and show. Oh, there's always a glitch when you don't want it to be there. So maybe we can edit this part out. Let me figure out here what's okay. Let's see, recording live chat. Share computer sound. Okay, let's try that.
That's right.
Oh. Can you hear that now?
Make it loud.
Yeah.
It's a little bit loud?
Yeah.
No,
Oh, all right. Let me try to turn it down. I'll turn it down.
just a
Let me
little.
try it again. Okay. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let me go back and redo some of this then. So you can edit from So, anyway, I granted here, we own the copyrights, of course, so I granted free use for anyone who supports us and is positive about our stuff. But there's always those trolls out there that want to negatively report and lie and twist. And so I do not give them permission. And if I find out they're using this stuff, we will sue them. This is another slide here. And so water, it's about 70% of our bodies. And when we're born, it's about 90%. We're born in an amniotic sac. And so we have a lot in common with water. The universe, well, the planet actually has about 70% coverage by water. And if you notice those hydrogen gas clouds out in the universe, of the visible universe, they estimate that it's about 70% water. And I always thought that was amazing that it was 70, 70, 70 like that. And, okay, what's going on? There we go. It seems a divine hand is in the works there. So if you imagine that the divine architect of the universe was constructing it, and what a perfect way to put fuel that's clean and recyclable and reusable, and make water that fuel. So instead of digging up toxins out of the earth and passing that on as toxins to later generations, we should pay attention, I think, more to the natural process and what's available to us. This is a illustration slide of water fuel extracted from air. This truck does not need to stop for fuel. It can cross the entire USA and back with no fuel stops. And all technology that our fuel embraces can do the same thing. A train can do it. And we could have scoops up on the top here, just ramming the air in and taking the moisture out of it. And I'm working on a process for that for jet planes and also fast-moving vehicles, trucks and trains and that sort of thing. And we'll soon have a similar system for water where you have a scoop under the hull. It scoops the water up into the system, which is on board, and that system, let's see, what do we got here? That system will take the energy out of that fuel. So if you have a tanker ship, let's say, running across the oceans from China to Los Angeles, it puts about, if it's using bunker fuel, it puts about as much pollution in the air as 250,000 cars at the same time that it takes to make that crossing. So if the latest stats I have are, let's see, what's the matter with this thing, are that we have about 6 degrees of mean temperature left on the planet. And I know this is very controversial because there's a whole lot of people saying, oh, carbon doesn't make heat and temperature rise and all. It does. First, they tell us it's, oh, we have 12 years left or 10 years left. And back in the day, 2008, they were saying it was 2015 was going to be the end of it all, the tipping point. Well, I don't know enough about climate science to know who's telling the truth and which oil company agendas are prevailing at what time. But I can tell you this, if we only have 6 degrees, and that's pretty scientifically established, that what temperature humans can exist in, plants can exist in, crops can exist in. We have a crop belt around between the tropics around the globe. If that becomes desert, and if that potential for food production drops, the whole system will break down into riots and it'd just be a mess. So with that kind of dystopia looking at us in the face, we can have a choice. We can either plan on doing something to correct it while we still can, or we can adopt the oil company agenda, which is, oh, no, it's nothing to worry about. Let's keep polluting and keep buying gas. And okay. And then when we do get to the end, if we get to the end, because of that, it'll be too darn late once we realize it to do anything about it. So I tried to say it's better to err on the side of caution. Here's a slide for a jet. Can you imagine a military jet or a commercial jet or private jet or any plane flying around the world without stopping for fuel and not having to worry about stopping for fuel, because all you need to do to refuel is fly into where the humidity is a little more dense, drop down your altitude, go into the clouds, pick up some moisture, fill your tanks with water, and keep on flying. So that's the kind of revolution this technology can bring. As well as the most important thing, of course, is that the toxins from fossil fuels get eliminated and we can all breathe a lot easier. So what people say to me, can we run out of water? Well, no, the moisture from the exhaust is returned to the environment as water vapor. So it's recycled. And let's say somebody says, oh, well, what about if everybody sucks water out of the air for their car fuel? There's no water left in the air. No, that's not true. The process of the evaporation and recycling of water continues, and it fills itself as it needs it. So it has its own self-balancing mechanism, and we don't have to worry about that. It will pick up as much moisture out of the seas and that it needs to refill that. And another nice thing is that very process, taking evaporative water out of the oceans, putting it into the atmosphere, desalinates it already. So it's a perfect cycle. So this slide is I don't really take a stand either way on climate change because I'm not an expert in that area, but I've read an awful lot of stuff, and it goes back and forth depending on who's paying for the ads and getting the people to publish what they believe. Don actually is the VP of our company. I know he's on here, and he's always fussing at me about, well, this is, he kind of takes the opposite opinion, but that's good, about climate change, because people should discuss it and find out if there's a risk there. And it's a big gamble, if we screw up the choice and we don't do something about it, and then it becomes too late, we're all gone and the future is gone. So what effect does carbon have on this planet? Well, these are some of the experts in that field. And this slide is talking about the last time there was a 93% kill off on the planet of life was about 250 million years ago. And if we tip our temperature 6 degrees in the mean temperature higher, we could go into a kill zone of 93% again, just based on temperature. So I was discussing this with Pat Bailey the other day, and he's a well-recognized scientist. And he said, well, that climate change is happening on other planets, so it's not all man-made. And I said, yeah, I know. The temperature is increasing on other planets, so that means that it's something else other than man-made, because we're not affecting that. But what if it's both? What if that's true? All of it is, there's an underlying cause that's natural, but we add our problems to it, and then we go into a kill zone much faster. So if, in fact, we are causing any of it, well, a majority of scientists seem to think that we are, and they measure that by carbon levels. So they say, this chart here shows the sun coming in, bouncing up, and then going back down because it's trapped by a layer of carbon up here. That's the one side of that opinion. But if you track the temperature anomaly, and then this is from NASA, Hadley, NOAA, and a Japanese Meteorological Society, you can see from 1880 all the way up to the year 2000. Let me move this thing over here. That it's spiking, and it's gone vertical now. It's just going off the chart up here. So we're in a 400 parts per million of carbon, and we haven't been there in over, the last time was 5 million years ago. So I don't want to try to solve the discussion or the conflict between varying points of view, but I can tell you that there is a very strong paid for agenda of the oil companies to convince the public that there's no problem at all, keep buying gasoline and everything's just fine, because there's a lot of legislation around the world that's onto this and is threatening their markets. So, let's see, how do I get this going? How does H2 Global's tech affect carbon in regards to fuel and climate change? Well, here are some examples. This is, and a friend of mine shot this. He's not a cameraman, but I appreciate the fact that he did shoot it, but it could have been a lot better. But if you look in the very top upper left-hand corner of the screen, you should be able to see the bottom of a flask right up in here near that guy's arm. That's a 5 milliliter, which was poured out of this beaker, and 5 milliliters of gas was put down into that funnel and into the engine system. And we ran the scooter around the parking lot for him on 0.01% gasoline, and the rest was all water. So let me run this and we'll get it. 49 cc scooter.
That's 400 milliliters of water, 450.
450 milliliters of water.
It's just a tad over.
And if you look down in the scooter under those pipes, you can see
Inch blows?
4-inch square tube.
Okay. Can we get rid of that for you? I'll get it. Here. Let's see. There you
So
go.
we reduce the carbon emission over 80%. Okay. Oh, no, there we go. Let's go to the next slide. Oh, this is let me go back to that. Let me comment on this. This is a small video of a dune buggy we have that we use for a test bed, and it runs on solar, wind, and water. And after it's over, I'll explain a little more about that.
This H2 Global dune buggy is powered by a standard Volkswagen engine, but there's a big difference. This processing box here converts water into a fuel that will drive this engine. This transparent tube here is to prove that there are no hidden fuel lines or anything extraneous to affect the fuel going into the box. At present, this is a dual fuel system. Here and here are the two fuel shut-off valves to cut off the gasoline. This car is the first, we believe, to run on solar, wind, and water. This solar panel provides some of the energy to convert the water into fuel. These wind turbines here also provide energy to convert the water into fuel.
So the dune buggy, you might have noticed on some of the slides or a part of that video, there was a box with a transparent tube, which John pointed out. But then on the closing one, where we were going down the road, we had the older system on there from years ago because I like that shot of the car driving away. We used it. But there were two tubes on the back of that. And at that time, we had electrolysis in those tubes, a very advanced form of it. But it still ran the car, but it still needed a lot more gas than like 0.01% to actually work. But that was in our early stage of inventing what we were doing. So one of the things I talked about earlier was the energy process derived from lightning, and it changes water into charged particles that can be said to mimic ball lightning. there's a book you can get at Amazon.com, and it's by Moray, M-O-R-A-Y, I think, King, and it's called Water, the New Energy. And he was very generous to me in there and said a lot of nice things about our tech, but he gets into a technical explanation, which I really didn't want him to do because it was way too more revealing than I really wanted to be at that point. But anyway, it's out there now. So, but if you want to know more of the technical side of how the system works, that's a good book to get. And that's Moray King, Water, the New Energy, available on Amazon. So there's some things happening in our process that we noticed which indicate there may be over unity results generated in the combustion chamber. And we don't make that claim because I'm very skeptical about making claims you can't empirically prove and back up. So I refuse to make that claim until we prove it. So, or prove that it isn't happening. Either way is fine with me as long as I figure out what is happening. So, but because we wanted to do empirical proof, I contacted Dr. Harrelick, and some other scientists, and we're going to be doing a program where we test to find out if there are longitudinal waves or scalar energy events occurring inside the combustion process in the engine. And this ball down at the bottom kind of reflects the idea of how our fuel works. We break water down into particles, and those particles are charged particles. And when they go into the engine, the process of breaking it down further occurs inside the engine, not outside like most electrolysis, which is a terrible waste of energy. But inside the engine, when the combustion and the heat and the pressure all combine, and spark plugs of certain designs make it much more efficient, like the one I have, which is if I had a bigger charge system on that spark plug, it would have shown the plasma that it creates. But I was using a stun gun to drive it because it was just the quickest thing I could rig up for the video. But anyway, when this stuff goes off in the engine, there's a lot of things going on there that convert the water to fuel. Steam is one, and the hydrogen is another. That's released. Oxygen is released. But you have some leftover water that isn't quite broken apart yet, and that becomes steam. And steam expands 1,700 times. So we basically have a combination of technologies. We have hydrogen, oxygen, and the steam engine. But there also may be other things happening, which I just described, that Dr. Harrelick is going to help us prove or disprove. So let me go to the next thing. I like this slide. We've done fuel tests, and we've shown that our water fuel increases range up to 1,100 times in an internal combustion engine. And it has twice the horsepower, almost twice the horsepower. And we did an independent test at a local dynamometer shop with a scooter. And these are the results. And if you look at this red line that goes up along the top here, this is red is the best H2O power. And these other two runs are all gasoline, no water fuel. And you can see they spike a little bit in the beginning. They go above where we are. We're a steady climb right up there, and then we're above them all the way down, and they show less energy. So in other tests, and this is just one of a number of tests, we have almost doubled the horsepower of 93 octane gasoline fuel. And this is a short piece, which is it shows 196 cc, which is about 7 horsepower engine. First quarter of 2019, this year, we tested and we ran, I think it was 0.1 or 0.01%, I can't remember.
Hi, I'm John Mulligan with Global Energy News. Today, we're going to be testing one of the H2 Global water-based fuel systems. In this box here, I have the dry electronics, And in this box here, we have the water fuel mixture. This unit here, we are controlling the airflow manually. We are working on an automated system, but at the moment we're using the manual airflow controller here. And this opens and allows more air in, or we can allow less air in and turn it down. We're using an endoscopic camera to show the dry box electronics. As you can see, the gas tank has been removed from this engine. We're going to take 5 milliliters of gasoline and inject it into this fuel line here and see how long the engine runs. We are drawing 5 milliliters of gasoline. Now we're going to start the engine and see how long it runs. We're going to start it again to see if there's any gas left in the bowl. Now this is ordinary drinking water, and I'm going to pour 450 milliliters into this jug. Which is just about there.
That's our precise scientific method there.
I'm now going to pour it into our unit.
We'll cut a window into the box so you can see there's nothing in there except the water we're putting in there.
And as I did before, I'm going to draw 5 milliliters of gasoline and inject it into the same chamber I put the water in. And that's 5 mil of gasoline added to the water. At this point, we've just added the water and the 5 milliliters of gasoline into the chamber. I'm going to turn on the power for the water fuel system that is going to provide the power to change the water's molecular structure. This unit here uses 282 milliamps at 24 volts. We have another system which uses less power, that's 170 milliamps at 24 volts. Now the power's at 282 to 283 milliamps. I'm going to start the engine. Now to begin with, the choke is in a regular position, which will be open during the run about halfway, and then later on it will be fully open. This is the fuel shut-off valve, which will be off during the run while we're on our water system. I'm going to start her now.
So we can all sit here and watch this engine run for 20 minutes, whatever it's at. Or you can see it on the website, the same video is posted on there. So I'll just skip it and preserve some time here. If you want to see it, go to h2ge.com. It's posted there, and you can see it. So let's summarize. We can increase with our water fuel mileage per gallon up to 1,100 times that of gasoline. We can reduce the toxic emissions up to 99% now, and very soon will be 100% no toxic fuel emissions. We can convert water in the atmosphere to clean burning H2G water fuel, and we can run all engines with very minor changes to the intake. People ask me, what do you have to do to the engine? Well, it takes about 15 minutes to change the air intake, and it's very minor. It doesn't affect actually the engine. It just allows our system to hook onto the engine. So we can run almost every engine out there. And we can convert seawater for ships and marine vessels so they run on the water that they float on. So they never run out of fuel, and they're way much cleaner. Like I say again, our H2G water fuel process is now the cleanest and the least expensive energy on the planet, and the most available. It's commercial ready now. It's being demonstrated in vehicles, and next year we'll cross the USA and back without stopping for fuel in an RV bus. And there it is. You can also join into this. It's kind of grown from just, let's go show the world what we can really do. And we'll get enough publicity, hopefully, that we can beat all the suppression of our technology and the news blackout. So we're going to get actually a much newer, bigger bus than that one. But you can go to GoFundMe, and we have an account there. And if you look up search under the words climate change solution, it should take you to this. And we set it up so that if you, let's say you donate $100 to this bus tour cause. Well, the bus tour, we're going to be, when it goes across the U.S., we're going to be satellite streaming live a reality show from inside the bus of the whole tour. The bus will be coated with cameras everywhere, time-lapse cameras that'll start when the bus tour starts, and it'll end when it ends. And it will not stop, and it will mark every frame. That those frames are going to be maybe 1 or 2 seconds apart. So nobody can approach the bus. Nobody can put more fuel in or do any sneaky stuff. It's all going to be documented. And if it blossoms up as big as it looks like, it might be 100 buses before following us. So there's a lot of witnesses. But back to the GoFundMe thing. If you put in $100, we guarantee that if you show up at one of our anywhere on our route, we'll get you in the video and for a short ride on the bus. And so you'll go down in history, and both in the documentary and in the worldwide streamed video. And if you say put in $500, then you get a speaking part, and so you and a longer ride, and get to stop at some of the publicity points along the way and see the crowds and all the bus people and everything. So you'll definitely be in the video in a bigger way. But we're trying to raise about $292,000 to finish off the funding for this, and we're putting in a lot of funding ourselves. So let me get past that. So I should probably talk about our share prices now. They were for a while at $1 a share. We're also not on any exchange. We're private placement, but you can contact us if you're interested. And the share price recently increased to $20 a share because we got our patents. Some of them are coming in worldwide. And also we've discovered this whole new process of extracting water from the air and making our fuel system work with that. And so our valuations very much increased, and likely to increase heavily again. So we've also been informed that our EU patents have been accepted and will issue soon. Our new water fuel process, extracting atmosphere or water from the atmosphere, that was demonstrated very, very recently, actually. Went from just a concept, can we do this? Will this work? And proving that it does work. And so We've expanded our team and more members in the USA, India, UK, EU, Korea, and the Mediterranean. We have representatives for our company all around there, and we're growing into what will become soon an international company. And Rogers on our UK team, he's recently been negotiating to buy a 108-foot yacht to demonstrate our water fuel technology, and have an actual ship that you can, a small yacht actually, well, it's a large yacht, but I guess it's large. I don't know what's large anymore. People keep getting bigger and bigger yachts. But anyway, we'll actually have a demo that you can ride on and see the technology if that deal goes through. And of course, down here at the bottom is our websites, h2ge.com, h4gas.com. Contact information's on there. And thank you for watching, and please help us bring a solution to climate change to the world and do something to prevent a possible life extinction on the planet. Or you can sit over on the oil company side of the table and say, oh, nothing's wrong. Keep on enjoying your gasoline. So if it's true, according to the figures I have, 6 degrees of temperature rise achieves a 93% extinction event of life on the earth, including plants, fish in the sea, and everything breaks down. It's going to be if that happens, it's a dystopian nightmare. And we've already used up, we're at 1.5% of that 6 degrees change. We've already used 1.5. It's risen that much, and it's accelerating, so it might go to 2% much quicker. And if this rate of rise, temperature rise, goes faster and faster and starts accelerating, we will have, most of the people watching this will be alive when these things happen. So that's my slideshow, and I'll open it up to questions now. Anybody want to ask a question?
Walt, would you? Oh,
Yeah.
you stopped sharing screen, right? Cool.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'll stop share.
Yes.
There. Okay. Now I've got all the little pictures of all the callers.
Wonderful.
Okay. So questions.
Yes, it's now Q&A session. Now is open to the floor. Okay, I put my hand up, Walt. I'm going to start the ball rolling.
Okay.
Crystal, yeah, okay, I'm sorry.
And who are you?
Crystal.
Crystal.
It's me.
Okay.
Yeah, it's me, Walt.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I just wanted to say that we are so grateful that you have accepted our invitation to speak in FESIG's 67th meeting, and we are honored and we are grateful. You did such a wonderful presentation.
Oh, well, thank you.
It's really so well illustrated, and with your film industry background, indeed, you have communicated everything that you need to communicate through to the audience. And I must applaud you for your bravery and your resilience in standing tall and firm with what you are to do here with your mission, your divine mission on this planet, to bring this technology to the people. You are indeed a fine example for all of us here in FESIG, for those who are living in fear or being threatened and bullied and whatever, you know, by the who may be, the powers who may be. I mean, look at you. I mean, the fossil fuel cartels have to make way for you now, because you've really got the ball rolling, and you've got investors galore who are interested in putting the money in where the horse's mouth is. And there you go. And a round of applause for you.
Oh, thank you.
For doing such a
Thank you.
Yeah. So I would like to put the Q&A to the floor right now. Anybody?
You're using an ordinary engine, and you have additional fuel, the water fuel system. So you can use both the old system and the new system. Is that correct?
You want me to talk about the electrolysis versus the new fuel?
No, yeah, you can do that.
Okay, I have trouble understanding your accent, and also there's something about I don't know, EQ on your audio. It's like all bass and no mid range, so it's muffled. When I'm listening to you, I have a hard time understanding you. But so is that correct? Is that the question you asked me?
Yes, it should be better than my sound now. So
It's better now, Pontus.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the electrolysis, you take two pieces of metal, typically put them in water, put a negative charge on one and a positive charge on the other, and you get bubbles forming, and these bubbles are hydrogen and oxygen coming out of water. Most people know about that, some don't. But it usually takes more energy, or very nearly as much energy. But now, in recent days, you can get more energy out than you put in. But it was very close. But the gains are still limited. They're not anywhere near what I would need to run a ship at sea, unless I had another ship behind it running conventional fuel, converting the energy out of the sea through electrolysis to run the ship in front of it. It's just not practical to do that. And there are some advances coming in that technology which may change all that. But as for the present and what's practical now, it didn't offer me what I was looking for. I wanted to have something in the like 200 milliamps or below, and generate enough power to run an entire engine. And so that was my goal, and that's what we did. And we did that because we went away from electrolysis and started studying how lightning works and clouds and moisture and what the nature of that process is, because that process releases more energy in the shortest amount of time of any energy source on the planet. And it happens much more than you think. It's not random. Like, it's everywhere in the world. If you look at the whole globe from outer space, there's lightning going around the world, and it's like every minute it's striking somewhere, and it's vast amounts of energy. So I thought, man, there's another example in nature. I should follow that trail, see where it goes. And so that's how I got here.
Can you expand on how you use it?
Do you want me to tell you exactly how it works?
Yeah, or nearby.
Well, I have to draw a line somewhere.
Yeah, sure.
But we're using the lessons that we learned from the lightning studies, and we're converting water into particles, and those particles are charged. And when they're under heat and pressure, they behave differently than they do out in the atmosphere. And so you have a process which is much more complex, of course, than what I'm saying, but it allowed us to extract the energy that's in water. It's not just using the water itself, it's the energy within the water. And so the process became very usable for fresh or seawater. And there are some other inventions we have made since then, trying to solve individual problems along the way. One was, can we, if we're at such a low input energy base, can we use just wind and solar to power the system reliably? So that was the impetus of the dune buggy you saw. Those are just radiator fans. They're modified slightly, but not that much, into generators. So you put them on the front of the dune buggy, and when the thing moves forward at about 12 miles an hour, they start spinning, and you get about 4 amps each off those particular ones. But I decided, well, okay, if you use solar power, what happens when the sun goes down and you still want more power? Well, you have a battery, of course, but batteries are toxic. So how can I eliminate a lot of the battery weight? So then I said, well, I'll do wind energy. So I had this brilliant MIT engineer come up to me at a demo, and he says, well, you're losing. He said, I forgot what exactly he said, but the gist of it was this: if you try to extract the energy from those fans, you're going to cost yourself more energy than you're going to get. And I said, no, that's not true. That's absolutely not true, and I can prove it. And so I said, if you notice where those fans are, they're down in the front. And if you look at the side profile of that car, they're within the envelope of resistance of that car. So imagine a cardboard box 6 feet square going down the road being pushed. and the front of it's flat. And whatever that amount of resistance is much higher than if you cut a hole in that box and let the air go through. Now you've lowered the resistance, so you've made a gain over what you were already using, and that is a positive gain. And then if you put a fan in there to capture that flow through, you're extracting the energy from that gain, and therefore you're recovering lost energy, and therefore you have a net gain over what you had before because you're recovering lost energy. And that's, if you stuck those fans up in the airstream up above the car, then you would probably, his point of view might be more correct. But the fact is, when it's hidden down inside the envelope of the resistance, you're extracting energy from what was lost. And it's a net positive gain overall. So the same thing with the solar cells, they'll work. I understand the solar industry says 4 hours a day is what they attribute to do calculations. I always thought it would be maybe 6 or 8 hours, but apparently not. Anyway, if you extract the energy that's being wasted in any design system and make it more efficient, and you, especially if you have a system like ours that creates water from air, one thing that Dune Buggy doesn't have on it quite yet is the water recovery system that we're designing now, that actually, when you're going down the road, it's ramming the air into the system. So you've got an air ram system, and then you're taking heat exhaust from the engine, creating heat, and you're also using other methods to create cold. So you have heat and cold, you have condensation, and you have a massive airflow. That can be applied to jet engines or anything, up on a jet plane or on a train or a semi-tractor trailer. So there's a whole application, a range of other systems that we've evolved into, like the air extraction system, the solar cell system that we developed, which is much higher energy density than anyone's out there. And actually, I'm working on a way to make that into a paint, so you can paint it on something. And then a new battery system, which I basically studied some things in nature and found out that nature stores energy, and it has a way to release quite powerful, enough to kill a man. It can do that, and certainly lightning, but there's other things that can do it. And so I studied them, and I'm working on a new battery system. So desalination, solar batteries, or solar, more efficient solar panels, and new batteries are the other areas we're in, along with the fuel system. So that has brought us a great deal of suppression, which I didn't get into on the recording, so I'll do it now. The suppression started with people like Google taking or actually the first time I noticed it was on Facebook. I put up a Facebook page years ago, back in 2010, and a friend of mine was looking at it with me, and he says, well, you've had that video on there since 2008, and you only got 3,000 views. He said, they're shadow banning you. I said, what are you talking about? He says, well, they're limiting access to your site, and they're limiting, if you probably try to post something, it won't go very far.
Yeah, we have the same problem, FESIG.
Yeah. So anybody who disagrees, that's got big money and is up in that echelon that's slowly trying to make the world a communist censorship tyranny. Anybody like Big Oil wants to come in and hand them a fat paycheck. You know, we're worried about this technology. Why don't you make sure nobody hears about it? So then you find out that, well, your website disappears. Nobody can find it, or it's 10 pages deep in a search engine pages, and nobody's going to look there. Or it's not even on there at all. They did that to us, and Google did that. Facebook was doing shadow banning on us, and I was very surprised to find out that LinkedIn did it to us. I had been on there a short while with a new web page announcing our technology, and I posted some stuff to some specific people that I wanted to get in touch with, and one of them replied. It was an executive guy with HSBC Bank, and he got my message, and he must have posted it. It was an announcement about the water bus tour and our new fuel system. And it went around, I guess, all over the internal computer system worldwide of HSBC. And I got all these thumbs up, but I was headed out to eat. It was at 50 or 60. I got in the shower, I came out, I went to Applebee's, it was at 100. They were just, it was, the analytics were spiking. Well, the people that are trying to suppress our technology, you know, they popped the cork and they went to work. And the next thing I know, I was going to Applebee's. My site was up when I started in the door, but I was logged on to Applebee's internet Wi-Fi. And all of a sudden, my site disappeared completely. It went down. It said, there's a posted sign that says, this site is not available at this time. And so 20, 30 minutes later, when I finally came back on after I was getting ready to leave, I noticed that all those people, you know, over 100 that were trying to contact me, they were erased off of there. I couldn't find any connection to them. And before I had the thumbs up, I also had their addresses and email contact and all that stuff. And I could have communicated with them. Then I got shut down. And then I started noticing that when I would send out a post and say it goes to everyone, well, there's a couple, a billion people on LinkedIn. There should be a lot of people reading a post. I got like 25 people read your post, 10 people read your post. So I know, okay, they're shadow banning me. They basically have cut me off. And so I have to find alternative ways to get the technology known to the people. And that was one of the impetuses behind the water bus tour. So did I answer your question?
Yes, partly.
Okay.
How about modern cars have engine, computers, ECU? How about to come around that problem because they will...
Well, way back in the day when I was doing electrolysis, they started enhancing they went to OBD2, which is the newer connection system, and then the CAN and all that stuff. And they started addressing people modifying the fuel systems. And then they, in this country, passed a law that said nobody could do that. Well, screw them. They can't tell you if you bought that car what you can do with it. It's not commercial anymore. It's private. And they don't have jurisdiction to do that. But the oil companies got this law passed. And I think it was more aimed at people setting up shop to do it commercially for other people. So they were trying to protect and control the rate of fuel mileage. And it's always a constant battle between Congress trying to push the fuel mileage up and the oil companies trying to push it back down. And then they do other things like they change the formula so you get less miles per gallon that way, and you have to buy more gas. So they're protecting their markets.
Of course.
And how that affects people is that, you know, most people don't work on their own cars. They have a mechanic do it. And if you take out the possibility, because it's in commerce, and it can be regulated according to their theories in this country alone. I don't know about other countries, but here the federal government, here the federal government has no authority inside of a state in the constitutional republic system. But they've changed all that illegally and fraudulently, put it into a corporate system, and now they think they can do anything they want. But there are indications that wind may go the other way once again, like 1776. So hopefully it will happen. But the problem is, you know, once you have a technology like this and you try to get it out there, then you start discovering, oh, there's all this suppression out there. Oh, what an interesting way to try to suppress somebody. And then I was getting threats, and I was attacked once, and I said my phone is still tapped. So I just basically said, okay, assholes, you want to play that way? You go ahead. You kill me. And here's what's going to happen. My technology will go everywhere in the world, to the last corner in the jungle where nobody has internet. It will get there eventually. And I'll make sure that it spreads and you can't stop it. And it won't be just on the internet. It'll go everywhere. And everybody will start using it because it's very easy to implement. And that means the oil companies' markets will drop to nothing very soon for transportation. And so if they want to accelerate that, they can go ahead and do whatever they think they're going to do. So that was my, okay, if I can remove the impetus for, killing me is not going to stop my technology. It's too well known by more people than myself. And I've made provisions that it will be widely distributed. And if that happens, so if I'm alive and I can phase it in a cooperative manner so that it's not going to disrupt overnight markets, and it can be changed into on a table that will help avoid any climate crisis, which we may or may not get into depending on how true it is or how untrue it is. But here's the fact. Over 9 million people a year die of fossil fuel pollution. That's more than Hitler killed every year around the world. And that's gone up. That was an old figure we got. It's gone up over 10 by now, I'm sure. So do we continue? Never mind the climate. What about the pollution? Do we continue killing 10 million people a year so somebody can preserve their profits of their, it's like the cigarette companies. They never went away. They're still killing people. They just put in a few regulations to try to affect that market. But really, they didn't. All they did is do a PR campaign. So we need to take some solid action, because 10 million people a year is too many to kill. And even one is too many to kill. But when it starts, that's worse than Hitler. It's starting to get up there where Stalin and Chairman Mao were at killing, mass killings and stuff like that. But you see ads on TV. Oh, Shell, Mobil Oil, Standard Oil. It makes you feel good. They're putting the energy to make us safe and all this. It's. I used to see those ads about cigarettes too.
Exactly.
And now, fortunately, you see ads with people with shrunken faces and surgery, and they look like something that somebody pulled out of a coffin. And they're telling you, like a few days before they die in the commercial, that cigarettes, this is what they do. And my mother was in that field. She was a cancer cytologist, did a lot of research on that. And she worked in that for years. So I know exactly what that does. And so we have to make choices that are responsible. And we have to make sure that the next generation has a same chance or better than we had to survive and thrive on this planet.
Well, I must say, Walt, that you not only survived the threats and all the tactics that they use on suppressing your technology, you came up trumps. Look at you. You offered $1 per share for your H2 Global in 2017, and now it's gone up to $20, and you got a long list of interested investors on your tail as well. And isn't it amazing? You triumph over them. So does that mean, okay, now this is a message here, okay? We hear you loud and clear what you said about what you've gone through when it comes to suppressing your technology by the cabal or the cartel, the fossil fuels. Yeah. But I just want everyone to pay attention here. If Walt can do it, you can do it as well. I'm talking to the community here in FESIG, okay? So please get rid of all that fear, because I feel that they are now weakening, aren't they? They can't do anything to suppress you anymore, because you come up trumps, you triumph over them, right?
Well, yeah, it's something to a degree. You never know what the future brings. But one thing we're doing, I noticed how hard it was for me to get my system, to get patent lawyers to, and I ran into a lot of bad patent lawyers. But I looked at all these problems and I said, there should be a way. So I developed a plan to incubate. And this was years ago. And I spread it around, and suddenly people were stealing it left and right. But anyway, our plan is, once we're up and running, we will incubate other inventors, and we will provide them with legal patent services. We'll provide them with funding, and we'll provide them with a shelter in which they can thrive and survive and get their technology to a point where it can be put out to the public worldwide.
When it comes to patents, Walt, it goes straight to them, to the powers of who may be, who's on the other side anyway, when it comes to patenting.
Well, yeah, patenting is a problem, and especially in this country.
There you go.
It's very political. in this country, on the U.S. patent, they have their thumb on the scale, but in other countries, I'm doing well. So I may just pick up and leave this country and set up elsewhere. And but if they think they're going to steal this technology and put it out here, they're wrong. And you know, it's you have to understand that we're not dealing with. We used to a long time ago dealing with nations and people and cultures that were independent of each other worldwide, and the globalists are trying to build a one-world communist government tyranny where you do what you're told by the party, and if you think differently, you get downgraded and you can't fly, you can't go to a restaurant, you can't do this. Or if you agree with them, then you get promoted and you can do all these things. It's like Pavlovian training of a dog. These people are sick and twisted, and I'm personally offended by the whole concept that somebody else would tell me how to think and what I have to do. And I urge people in the world, don't let collectivism grab a hold of your country's politics, because it will end in disaster.
Right. Don, we have Don here, who's the VP, Vice President of Walt's company, H2 Global LLP. Upon Walt's invitation for this talk, Don, have you got anything to say about this suppression? Have you yourself personally experienced any threats?
I think he's muted.
Oh, he's muted. Oh, okay. Right. Could you unmute yourself, Don, please? Okay, I think. Okay.
Oh, wait. Here's Don. Yeah. Hey, Don, are you still with us? Don Wolf.
He's muted. Pontus, could you unmute him? Yeah. Your host. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Don, you've been unmuted.
Hey, Don, are you there?
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Okay. She was recognizing you for a question, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
Whatever it was.
Hi, Don. I was saying, you being VP of Walt's company, H2 Global LLC, would you have anything to say about being suppressed in any way? Did you personally experience anything like that?
I haven't, no. And my experiences were within the corporate structure of existing companies where the patent process was more cut and dried and without restriction. But I can see from other avenues of research in manufacturing where the competition and the goal for money or power has at its point the impetus to go ahead and suppress this or take it over or stop it. And there's a lot to be said there, because in the area of profits, that you're looking at corporations, and mostly in these corporations, the profit goal realistically never has anything to do with the green energy goals of the world, the clean air, the clean water. They don't really care. They would care if it made them money. And I can see where this would influence their decisions. I would like to point out something that the International Energy Agency reported in 2014. They said that the countries of the world must invest $50 trillion to meet the world's energy needs over the next 21 years. They said that the industrial nations on energy policy should annually invest in the energy supply $1.6 trillion steadily over the next decades until they reach $2 trillion a year of investment. And then on top of that, the spending on energy efficiency needs to increase $550 billion a year. And they say that 80% of the upcoming bill for this energy would include investment in fossil fuel extraction. They're not going to get away from that. Transportation and oil refining. They're not going to get away from that. Spending on low carbon technologies and renewables, nuclear and transportation and distribution. And the remaining $8 trillion of that would go toward boosting energy efficiency. I find it amazing these people are that stupid to put out numbers like that when this type of technology has been out here for a few years and they're just not paying attention. Because if you take what is available here with H2 Global Energy and what we can do with water as an energy supply, not only can we reduce emissions by 90% or more, we can cut cost of the fuel for these energy systems, whether it be power generation, transportation.
Mm-hmm.
We can reduce that by at least 90%.
Right.
So that would mean that the International Energy Agency's guess that we would have to spend $50 trillion the next 21 years, you could take $30 to $40 trillion of that and never spend it.
Right.
It wouldn't be needed at all because all of the goals that they talk about can be had with H2 Global Energy.
Hmm.
And that is
Hey,
one
Don,
of the things
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Is it possible for you to switch your video camera on? We'd like to see you talk.
No, I'm on a cell phone. I'm actually in a kind of I just returned from a trip to the ocean where I was looking at all that fuel sitting there in the ocean. Mm-hmm. And we are having tremendous storms here in Florida, and our power is going in and out, so I'm relying on a cell phone to communicate.
Okay, I understand. Thank you, Don.
But I just wanted to point that out, that these are things that the world is working on as a plan for the future to reduce the emissions and energy cost, energy use. And they want goals now that they could do by the year 2050, an 80% reduction in CO2 that is emitted from fossil fuels. Well, they're not going to ever get there, I can tell you that. And they would be lucky if they could get 30%, even after all of their investment, where with what we have on the table, we can give them 97% on almost every level of application.
Sure.
And we can do it today. Mm-hmm. All we have to do is just start implementing this into the designs of the transportation system and the power grid system, and it's going to happen. So we don't have to wait for 2050. We can do it in the next few years, and we can do it at a level that is 3 times better than what they can even think about. Mm. They also talk about storage of energy, and they're talking about batteries primarily. They've come up with some of the most bizarre systems for storage that I've ever heard of. And if you think about what we're talking about here, we're talking about water. The energy is stored in the water. All you have to do is access water. Hmm. There's not a storage problem. There's not a delivery problem. The delivery system for water is almost universal worldwide in the pipes and taps of the world. If you can access any good source of clean water, you can utilize this system. So it's bizarre to me that that goes on with the critical thinkers and the governments and the think tanks and the corporations that say that they would like this to be the result and goal for the future, when there's no real hope that they will ever get there unless they implement something like this that is so advanced. And I have to give a lot of credit to Walt Jenkins, who is the primary inventor of all of this and who has found something that is built into nature, but he has found a way to access it. And it's truly unique. I've watched him do this firsthand over all these years. And he and I worked on the electrolysis systems years ago. So it's possible that in today's world, all the goals that are thrown out there for emissions reductions, energy reductions, energy use, I should say, and the fossil fuel pollutions that you see, all of that is just all possible right now. Mm-hmm. And we are in the process of going through development of all of the concepts that this will entail to make it happen. We are also in the process of seeking funding for our company And we expect to build a major research center soon that would handle this research into all of these areas where this can be applied.
Sure.
In every sense of the word, I believe that it's simple enough that no existing system that uses fossil fuel today, cars, trucks, buses, power plants, whatever it is, all of those systems can be converted to use water as their energy source. And it'll be more efficient. It'll be certainly more clean than anything they could ever hope for.
Gosh.
And that's where we're at.
Certainly, you guys have brought a game changer in your technology. Thank you, Don. And Walt, you are amazing. You are such a great inventor.
It's swelling my head.
So honored to have you here. Right. I think I will pass the microphone over to our co-chair, Pontus Hesjer. Would you like to take over the questions from the chat, please?
Yeah. Stefan, he asked if I wonder when the technology will go public in Scandinavia, where I live, for example. What can we spread?
Okay, if you go to the website h2ge.com, there's a document on there which is called a business summary, I think is what it's called. It's a 5-stage plan. And that 5-stage plan is for, it's a summary of how we plan to roll this out. There's a number of problems in rolling out technology like this. So this is our solution. Stage 1, we take care of our patents, which we're already doing. Stage 2, we get a facility where we can do all the showing of the technology and demonstrating that's secure, and we can have our labs and stuff. Stage 3, we put out to the world's, oh, there's my website.
Yes.
And if you scroll down, you'll see those are the videos. And if you keep scrolling down, okay, right there, stop there. Okay, wait, these documents are what I'm trying to, biz plan summary, that one right there on the left, near the bottom.
Yeah.
If you download that, also you can get Maury's book by clicking on this link. But if you read all these documents that are on the website there, you'll find out a lot more about stuff I don't have time to discuss here. But basically, at stage 3, we're notifying the world, financial centers, the governments, the big billionaires behind the governments, and we're letting them a window of time to come with their engineers, kick the tires, test it, make sure then we prove that this all works. It's not some fantasy or BS or anything like that. And then we close that window, and then we open the window for buying a license, which is by country or state by state. Once you buy that license, then you can resell that license to like a county in your state, all the counties. So you get your money back, and then the county license holder sells it to the retailers. So we're building a chain, a business chain. But the primary reason for the licensing structure worldwide is to stop and prevent piracy. And we can't obviously ever stop 100% of it, but we can slow it down. So let's say you buy the rights to Mexico or Guatemala or somewhere, or a state like Florida. We find out that you're allowing piracy to come into the state in your territory, or we find out that you're in business with somebody making a profit off of helping that, and it's going out of your state or into it. We remove your license. We keep all of the money you spent on that license, and you're banned from ever having any of our products or dealing with our company again. And we go to the next highest bidder or rebid it. And also, we set up the oil companies very craftily ingratiated their business into the governments. So governments at the county level, at the state level, at the federal level, they tax gallons of gas. And those tax sales and collections are made, and that's a revenue source. So now their product is embedded. So whenever you see something like the Bush family seizes the presidency of this country and starts to go for a war in the Middle East to control oil, our gas prices jumped from like $1.75 to or maybe $2 to over $4 in preparation. They were extracting all that wealth out of those gas price raises because they were getting tax dollars out of it and supporting, getting ready to ramp up for the war. And so there's a lot of politics involved in oil prices around the world. Well, the system works the way it works, but then there's the all of a sudden this dark cloud arises over the horizon of, well, you guys are screwing up the climate. You're making things, you're killing 9 million or 10 million people a year. What are you going to do about this? Oh, just turn away, and keep spending the money. It's actually not our fault because you're the one buying it. They've actually said that. So the shift you'll see to electric cars is another. Well, it's a positive thing in one way, but it's an attempt by them to eliminate competition in the fuel markets, because their idea is that, well, you got an electric car, you're going to be on the utilities getting that electricity, or maybe solar or something, but we can shift you off of this. We can pretend that that's going to solve the carbon problem, and we can eliminate the fuel. So then competition fuel doesn't have a chance because there's no market. So they developed a market that way, and now big oil is moving into utility companies, trying to build utility companies all over the world. But that's a dead-end horse, because even though our water fuel system will work on a utility, why would you subscribe to some central power source when you can have a genset in your backyard that'll run your house, your car, everything running on water? So centralized power is another fallacy of short-term thinking. The actual implementation of an electric car is itself very clean, except the batteries. The batteries are highly toxic.
Yep.
Lithium-ion fuel cells, and not fuel cells, but battery cells, are highly toxic. And when you dispose of those, because they're not economically recycled, and you put them in a big landfill outside of a city, what happens? They will combust spontaneously, like coal mines that are still burning for 50 or 100 years in this country. They're almost impossible to put out, and they're putting all kinds of toxic pollution that will kill people in the air. So now you have this toxic nightmare around lithium-ion batteries, which was a bad choice. It was a short-term solution, but they didn't do any long-term thinking about it. And now they're rapidly heading towards that whole scheme as an idea that will work, but it will backfire in their face. So I'm trying to get a hold of Elon Musk and show him that, well, you can phase off of lithium-ion batteries. You can go to a water-powered generator, and you can take the water out of the air, and then your car can go without ever fueling again, and your trucks can go without ever fueling again, because the technology exists now with water fuel to do this. But he's a hard guy to get a hold of. I'm still trying, though. But when you see these moves, the big guys that have all the money, the Rothschild, I guess, what would you call it, syndicate or something? If you study who runs the world and all that, and you'll find out very fast where it goes. They look at this and they go, well, what we'll do is we'll make electric cars, and we'll all buy the utility companies, and then we still have the control of the game. But there's a lot of holes in that thinking, and it's not going to work that way. So anyway, that's enough of my preaching.
Thank you. Yeah, we have to wrap up the meeting soon.
We have a question from Felix. Please ask your questions, Felix.
Am I mute?
Yeah, you're unmuted.
Ask your
so you
question.
can speak.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I had several questions actually.
Okay.
We got to be quick because we got to wrap up the meeting. So
Okay.
It's been a long recording already. Yeah.
I was just curious if it's possible to use ultrasonic mister, like the one off the shelf that you can buy to make a water mist to mix with the H2O and then emulate a little bit what you're doing with your system.
Well, HHO is a different system altogether, but yeah, you probably could. You don't want to infringe my patent, so. But you know, there's a whole lot more to it than just that part of it. There's a way lot more to it. You've got to molecularly restructure the water so it can burn, and you've got to treat it with a number of frequencies and electrical energies and processes before it gets to the engine. Then it works great, but it doesn't work so good without all that. So it's the early patent, if you're looking at that was done in 2012. It's way behind the ball of where we are now. I'm still pursuing it because it has some important stuff in it, but I'm getting ready to file a whole new slew of patents anyway. So, but yeah, that alone will not accomplish it. I doubt it would do anything to electrolysis, because electrolysis is a completely different system.
I was talking about if you use a mister, because the ultrasonic ones that make lots of mist, and then you mix it with HHO to make it like more combustible. Like
well, yeah, you could. You mean oxygen and hydrogen? Yeah, you could do that. Yeah, but that's in my patent as well. So I patented that already.
Okay.
That was a long time ago, and the technology I have now has moved way beyond that. So I'm putting together a system which now you just put plain water in it and it creates it into fuel, and that can run in the internal combustion engine. And it does. See, the problem is if you involve yourself in electrolysis, you're involving yourself in high amperage, and when you get high amperage stuff like that, you're draining the energy and you're using more energy than you need to. So if it's incorporating that technology, you're going to find yourself in a place where you can't get enough production out without ridiculous amounts of energy in. So my whole pursuit was to reduce the energy in to as low as I could get it. And now I actually have it. I have test systems in my lab that they're running on a 5-volt battery, and they're producing enough fuel to run an engine.
Wow.
So that's very, and I mean, a 1-foot square solar cell could probably make that energy.
Good. Thank you, Walt.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me.
Any more questions?
Oh, well, we got some comments on the chat box, Pontus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we have time to answer those, or what? Comments, or
of course.
Where will they be posted?
In
the chat box, yeah. And Felix was saying that Mars may not be on our side.
Yeah.
Well, we all can see.
Okay, here's something comment. Musk has financial ties with the dark side. See SpaceX and 5G satellite grid. Oh, okay, well that's sewage water polluted. Well, there's a limit to how much pollution, but you can filter the water before you put it in our system. But I have taken muddy water out of a puddle and poured it in, and it worked. I don't know how long it would work, but it did work.
And Avin was saying something about Tesla company, Elon Musk has already bought over the Maxwell capacitor company.
Okay. Yeah. They bought a capacitor company, and that's to replace the batteries?
Yeah.
Okay, so well, I don't know what the elements are being used in a capacitor like that, but hopefully they're not toxic.
Well, we have in our midst John G.P. Swirig, a friend of Walt. Walt has invited JP because Walt feels that we ought to be connected, doing the work together, united, because John runs a radio show. It's called the freeenergyshow.com. Hey, John, would you like to speak up a little, introduce yourself and your work a little before we close the meeting?
Sure. Thank you for including me in the family of great thinkers and great sharers. I really want to commend you on the just the spreading of good wealth and good spirit. You know, we as folks in a journey on a globe that's incredible, and the Creator has done such wonderful things.
John, can we see your face? Can you put the video on?
I actually have my camera blocked off because of the cabal with black tape, but if you went to Facebook, it's okay. Facebook, JP Sweet is the name that I use as a broadcaster.
Sweet as in sweet as honey.
Yes, JP Sweet, and as they say, you have a face for radio when it's black, you know. I tried to do that for a little anonymity, but the long and short is I met Walt at the Energy Science and Technology Conference, which Aaron Murakami puts on, and I would highly recommend folks in this community to visit his site, naturally mine, freeenergyshow.com, but his is emediapress.com, and all the videos from this conference, which involves Walt's work and many others, including Eric Dollard and a Tesla magnifying transmitter demonstration. Magnificent information was shared with folks just like you. We all want to share the wealth and share the understandings that God has given us in this journey, and I just say hats off to you, Walt. I'm doing everything I can to try to get this information to those that we know. I used to have a classic car radio show in Boston with my dad, who's since passed on. It was sweetchariots.com.
Right.
And, well, I'm not sorry because I lived with him the last few years, and our daily communion was one with short balance sheets. Whatever we said, we felt, and we expressed it. We showed our love right to the last moment. And I think he's looking over my shoulder now and letting me have a second shot at my dream to have clean energy, a clean planet for future generations, and Walt's part of that picture, as well as you folks as well, just sharing ways to live like HGH would restore your youth and all that. You know, there's all kinds of great ideas. We seem to all be on the same path and sharing it amongst each other to help each other with goodwill. That's wonderful.
We certainly share the same divine mission here, John. It's so good to get to know you and be connected with the community. Thank you so much, everyone.
Very welcome.
Hi, Tricia, have you got anything that you want to say? We missed you in the last meeting because you were scheduled to report on Sasha Stone's New Earth Festival in Bali. Are you there, Tricia?
Greetings all, and I commend all of you on your extensive and heartfelt drive and dedication to your missions and bringing beauty back to the planet and wellness. And sure, I always have a lot to say. And I was curious, Walt, if did you plan this tour around the States about 10 years ago?
No.
The RV, because there was some groups that were planning a tour around with RVs, and I was just thinking maybe it reminded me that maybe you're connected to them. But
no, this just came up in the last couple of years as an idea to get around media suppression and create an event that would be hard to suppress, and or at least demonstrate how bad the suppression is in the converse. So, but no, it's just an idea that once I realized that, okay, we have water fuel, that's conquered. Okay, we have the source that comes out of the air. That was a unique thing. And then I went, oh, we need to go show this off to the world, because I haven't had any luck getting the regular press releases to work. So, I mean, I sent out 50 to 100 press releases to newspapers all over the Southeast, and not one reply. They just pitch it in the trash and ignore it. And I came to find out by somebody who works at the CIA that the CIA has a payroll for editors of media and papers and stuff. And on that list of what they're getting paid for is to trash announcements like mine and make sure they don't get out to the public. So that's not a viable route at this point. At some point, when it becomes, when it breaks out of that, then they'll all want, they'll all want in on it. But my personal view is we're responsible for our own PR at this point.
Yes, and that was where I was. Crystal had mentioned I was in Bali at the New Earth Festival, and I just returned from last month, or in June, and they're big on exposing all of the corruption as you spoke of, in many ways, and they also bring in the solutions. And are you connected with them at all? Are you familiar with the New Earth Nation? Or I know Sasha Stone was also with the Global Breakthrough Energy Movement.
I haven't really tried. I haven't really connected up with those groups. I know that on Facebook there's some, and there's on most of the social media sites there's all kinds of groups and clubs I need to get plugged into. But when I was on Facebook, I tried to post some stuff on the Breakthrough Energy group, and I don't think it ever got there. They're just they're managing everything you do. If they put a red flag on you, you're not going to be effective on those platforms. And but also the platforms which I paid for services like LinkedIn, they violated contracts. They don't get immunity for that. And in fact, the Congress has no authority whatsoever to grant immunity to anybody. And they haven't had that authority since way back in the, 1930s, I think, is when they finalized all the states into corporations. Once they became corporate, once the federal government, which was in 1871, became a corporation, it no longer has immunity. You cannot be immune and be a corporation. You cannot have sovereignty and be a corporation. Mm-hmm. The very fact that you're a corporation means somebody else higher than you chartered your corporation. So a sovereign cannot self-incorporate, and a corporation cannot exist on its own charter. It has to come from a higher power. If it has a higher power, it devolves into a corporation. And the federal government has no more immunity power than McDonald's or Burger King or anybody else. So these are all legal points that I've studied because I'm tired of the suppression. And when I finally am able to do something about it, I'm going to.
Mm.
So.
Well, as I said, you are one true warrior of the light, and you've shown us a very good example. So push fear aside, be like Walt.
but I'm not on the right. I'm not on the right at all. I'm not on the left.
Yeah.
I'm right. I'm Walt Jenkins. That's me. I'm an independent person. I don't subscribe to platforms other people create, except the founding fathers. I really liked what they did. The first time in history. And in fact, I'll give you an example. When I was in college at Florida State University, I drove out in the country and I was going somewhere and I stopped to get gas at a country store. There was two guys in coveralls discussing politics. So I chimed in, and I thought I was a college kid and I knew everything. And I'd been taught all the fascism, socialism, all this stuff, and I was very versed in it. Mm-hmm. And they said, "Boy, you don't understand a damn thing." And I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Well, in all the history of the world, there has only been two types of government, ever." And I said, no, there's all these. And I started naming. He said, "No, listen." He said, "The founders of this country, through the Constitution, made us, the people, sovereigns. We are the top of the chain. There's no king over us. There's nobody over us except God. And he's the ultimate sovereign. But the government was put in place to serve us. Below us. It doesn't rule us. It simply arbitrates our rights between us." But that was the only time in history that ever happened. All other systems in history have been a king or a god king or a pharaoh or a Hitler or a Chairman Mao or some other asshole like Stalin telling everybody else what to do and controlling them and pushing them down under them. There's only two kinds of government. It's either we are on the top, all of us, and the government serves us, which is rapidly fading away. But all the other ones are just the same old game with a different costume.
Right. Oh,
I yield my time.
all right. There are about 13 of us here in the in attendance in this meeting, and I suppose if there is no more questions, I guess we can wrap up this meeting now, don't we, Pontus?
I think Felix has one more question.
Okay, right. Go ahead.
Hello. Hello,
Yeah.
you hear?
Yep.
Yes, I can hear you.
I was wondering if you're aware of your competitors, who they are, what they do, if are they able to get their technology out, because I know a company in Canada, in Toronto. They've been trying to market their it's an emergency generator that works on water only, and they're supposed to be going out. They have a production plan, and supposedly their product are ready to market, and it's been more than
I don't know about them.
okay, it's called the GDS technology. I have the link, and
okay,
there's several other company that have supposedly free energy technology ready to market, and it's not going out. I don't know what's going on with them, if they're being suppressed.
Oh, I'm absolutely certain they're being suppressed.
Yeah.
Because that's the way the people who are in control now react to competition, especially if it's highly threatening. So they'll basically try to keep you corralled or shadow banned, or put you in a cage and make sure you're not aware of the cage.
Yeah.
Then when you get aware of the cage, you can do something about it.
Well, they have to keep fighting, isn't it?
I was wondering if it was possible to that even if the competitor are not exactly in direct competition, but if it was possible to unite under create a group.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's what we're doing now, Felix.
I'm all for that. In fact, I earlier, before you got on here, was talking about setting up an incubation company that would help inventors with patents, with lawyers, with money, which lab space and nurturing.
Yeah, that would be good too. But I was talking about maybe if the already established company that have free energy product that are ready to market, if they could unite under a banner or a society or something that would be powerful enough to counterbalance the suppression.
Yeah, there are a lot of societies, groups, and various free energy, like the one we're talking on right now, and they're around the world. And I guess putting everybody into a single forum where we could have, just all communicate and connect together, that might be a good idea. You guys might want to think about moving the FESIG into an umbrella organization like that, since you're already up and running and you have the infrastructure.
Yes.
Well, we are getting parties who are interested in funding our activities anyway. So once we've got those in place, we know exactly what to do to unite everyone. And this is the start. We have been in operation for about 3 years now, and we've already got quite a substantial number of people, inventors, scientists, the community basically gathered together here. And as you have seen on the side, we have quite a wide variety of school of thoughts being put together in this community. So step by step, we're getting it done. Yeah. And thank you so much for joining us. I think we really have to wrap up this meeting now. And
thank you.
I think it's going on for a little bit too long now, because you can't take too long a recording. Yeah.
Okay.
Just
some editing. Yeah.
Just stay on after.
Sorry, Pontus, is there any more?
Just stay on after the recording is closed.
Yeah, after the recording's done. Okay, now I need to wrap up this meeting. So I would like to thank everyone for choosing to be with us today, even though this is scheduled like last minute, hardly any notice, and we've got 13, 14 people jumping in. And I'm really grateful for your time and your interest, and we're grateful indeed, and many, many, many thanks to Walt Jenkins for doing such a superb presentation, to Dawn and to John for joining in as well, hardly any notice, to make this meeting a success. And there being no other business, this meeting is now adjourned to the second session of the 67th meeting on the 7th of August, where James Ring will be conducting a live workshop on the making of the organic bubble tech. That is an invention of or development by the quantum physicist Mike Emery. And I hope you will join us again on the 7th of August, which is the second session of the 67th FESIG meeting. And after that, after we completed the 67th meeting with the second session, we will adjourn it to the 4th of September, which will be our 68th FESIG meeting with another speaker. And thank you so much indeed. Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.